Well, I'm in the middle of this project and this is not working. So I've been having trouble with this table saw. It's an old Craftsman table saw my brother-in-law gave to me because the motor wasn't working, and I got it working. It worked for a while off and on, and it's an old belt drive. The motor sat right here in this spot, and it's just burnt up. The motor, I can't get it to work. I probably take it apart and repair it, and I probably will, but at this point I need to either get a new motor or get a new table saw. So for today, in the middle of this project, I need to get this stuff done. So let's see if we can bang together a quick and dirty table saw so I can rip all these pallets down into nice usable lumber. I've got a piece of 3/4 plywood here. I've got my old refurbished, probably 1950s or 60s Speedway saw that I can use. It's an older saw, and I don't like using it anyway. It's real heavy. So I'll use this, and let's make a quick and dirty table saw. All right, well there is the kind of DIY, throw together table saw. Can be used in a pinch. Not a great permanent fix, but definitely temporary. And of course you can build a stand for it or something. I just have it clamped to my old table saw that doesn't work. But you know, you could throw some legs on here and make this an actual table saw. You can also improve the fence. Obviously there's a whole lot of videos online, YouTube and articles and stuff like that of making DIY fences and table saws like this. This is just temporary. Obviously, you know, it doesn't really slide very well. It doesn't keep square very well. You got to measure it and make sure it's square each time. And it's just clamped on there so it doesn't slide back and forth nicely or anything. And you can really use any circular saw, any handheld saw. This is a old one that I got at a resale shop and kind of just threw a new cord on it and cleaned it up a little bit. I actually did a video on kind of refurbishing it. It's a really nice saw. It's very powerful and everything, but it's super heavy, so this will be actually a good use for it on this little throw together table saw here. So it would be nice to also to screw right through this plate. That's something that I could have done instead of the kind of temporary clamps that I made out of that plywood. So you could just throw some screws right into the wood right here with some washers and right through the metal plate of the saw would hold it on there nicely. But this works pretty good. I threw some oil, you know, in between the surfaces here so that the fence will slide a little bit easier. It's pretty tight on there. I put this on here. Obviously, once you move the fence away, this isn't going to really do anything, but mostly what I'm doing here is just ripping these thin strips off of the pallet wood so I can get a nice fresh edge on it so that they'll mesh together really well, a nice square fresh edge. And so mostly what I'm going to be doing is going to be cutting real thin strips off of this. And so this little guard here just helps to keep the sawdust from flying back at me. This saw, for some reason, the way it's designed probably underneath there, it's scooping all the sawdust and throwing it, you know, back at me. So this just helps to keep the sawdust out of my face. And I also probably could cut a piece of this out right here so that the sawdust can come out a little bit easier, and I may do that, you know, just take my grinder and just cut a little spot of this guard off, get the sawdust out of there. But little improvements that you can make. I just cut together a little push stick just to keep my fingers away from this stuff, especially since I'm pushing so close to the blade here. But it just works pretty good. You know, obviously you could throw legs on this thing and make it a real table saw. There's lots of videos online about, you know, fences, making nicer fences that slide back and forth with, you know, thumb screw, wing nut screws and hand screws and stuff like that to tighten them on there. And you can do all kinds of stuff with these. But just to get a job done, this is going to work perfectly until I can get a new motor for my table saw here. Those things are kind of pricey, so we'll look around and see if I can find a used one. And we'll just use this thing for now, at least get this project done. So hopefully that helps somebody out who's in a pinch or on a budget and just can't afford to buy a table saw. Table saws are definitely handy to have, especially when you need to make a lot of nice straight cuts and square off edges of boards. You know, definitely something that you can use in any DIY project. One of the things that, you know, I've done lots of videos on how-tos and DIYs and different projects, and one of the things that people always say is, oh, it's so nice you have all those tools, and oh, of course it's free to do this way or this, you know, do these things because you have all those tools. Well, you know, you can really get by with very little. I used a chop saw here and I used a scroll saw, both of which you can buy very cheap. You don't need to buy the chop saw. You can use a hand saw, a circular saw, whatever, a jigsaw, a sawzall. I mean, you can use anything to get these things done. So look around at garage sales, look around at resale shops. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of expensive tools. You can get by with hand tools, you can get by with very inexpensive tools, or building your own. So obviously I don't need to say that this is not, you know, the safest thing in the world. You don't want to be using this long term, and of course you just want to be careful and make sure that you have some kind of eye protection on, number one, and just pay attention to what you're building and what you're putting together. Make sure it's secure. You don't want the saw to fall off or, you know, thing to get loose or something like that. I actually wired mine right into the switch on the old table saw so I can easily shut it off, and it's got a safety on it. Of course you don't have to do that, but you want to make sure you have a quick and easy way to switch it on or off, or turn it off if it gets out of hand or something like that. You know what to do down below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and as always guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.